Okay, we're gonna try this again, y'all. I tried to go live a minute ago and it kicked me off. So I'm gonna wait for my special guest to join. And then y'all know me, I'm gonna get started whether it's 2 people, 3 people, 1 people, 0 people. But today what I am going to talk about again is I have an amazing guest, and I am just waiting for her to hop on here so that she can join. But we're going to talk about one of the most underrated, slept on aspects of business that most people do not think about, do not talk about. They skip over just how important it is. And if you are not using storytelling, you are leaving coin on the table, okay? And so we don't want to leave no coin on the table. As y'all know, I'm not a big fan of leaving coin on the table. So let me see if I can get her on here. And so she is a speaker, author, entrepreneur. She is, I don't see her on. Let me tag her. And maybe that will help. Or let me write her on Facebook Messenger. All right. So anyway, she is a speaker, author, entrepreneur. She is an amazing coach at what she does. She is a professional development coach, and she is bestseller author. Let me be clear about that. She is a best-selling author. Let me clarify that. She is in the process of doing another anthology project as well for another book that is focused on really helping Black women tell their stories. So yeah, she is amazing. So as soon as she joins, hello, I am going to bring her in. But while I'm waiting on her to hop on the live so that she can join, I am going to just briefly introduce kind of why we're talking about what we're talking about. And it's been said that facts tell, but stories tell. Okay. And that is the bottom line, truth. The problem is only about okay. But only 10% of businesses are actually taking advantage, there she is, of the art of storytelling. Okay. And it is so powerful. And again, like I said in the beginning, if you are not telling your story, you're leaving money out on the table. But also telling your story in the aspect of how Ardenae does it as well, it definitely is one of those. Okay, let me join her in. It is one of those things that in it's therapeutic, but also again, from my aspect, it's a business thing. Hello, love.
Hi, Fatima. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Trying to adjust this camera. I hope you can see me.
I can. I had to move to a different place today because I'm working from home today, and it was giving me all kind of problems. So sorry I'm late, but I'm glad we're on.
Problem. Hey, Instagram family.
Yes. So I try my best to introduce you, but I don't feel like I could do you any justice, like in the way that I know I just, it's so much to describe how powerful of a woman that you are. So I'm gonna let you introduce yourself so they can hear from the horse's mouth of just how amazing you are as well.
Well, thank you so much, sis. Well, hello. It is your girl, Ardenae Garner, and I'm a personal development coach. I absolutely work with women of faith, entrepreneurs, and leaders who want to write and publish their personal stories of perseverance, faith, and survivorship to promote compassion and world healing. That is the new divine assignment the Lord has me on. And we are committed to uprooting and addressing generational trauma through storytelling and healing conversations. So I'm excited to be here today.
Yes, I'm so glad to have you. See, I told you I couldn't do it justice like you could. I could not do it justice like you could and describe it in the way that you can. And I know the first you just recently did a project, your anthology project, just this what was this last year? Yeah, right?
Yeah,
And that's
December.
amazing.
Yeah, it was the end of December.
See, there you go. It was amazing how you brought all of those stories together of such powerful stories and powerful women all coming together in this one book. Like I couldn't read it all in one sitting to be honest because it was that good. But it you could find yourself in all of them and in their stories as well, which is why it's so powerful to tell stories because again, you can connect to so many people in so many ways through the power of their story. So I love that you mentioned that you help leaders, entrepreneurs, and of course, women of faith kind of really tell their stories and talk through kind of their traumas and their generational aspect of it. And as you know, and as I tie it into kind of what I do, as you know, most of the people that I help, including myself, we are those curse breakers. We are those generational curse breakers. We are the ones breaking through a lot of trauma. And for a lot of them, much like your clients, they're trying to do this starting businesses or being leaders in their own spaces and so forth while working through their traumas and while working through all that they have experienced in their lives. And so tell them a little bit about why that's so powerful to tell your story in that way from your perspective of in a book. Like me, it's more of like, hey, in marketing and what you do in your business is so important to connect with your tribe that way. But tell them why it's so important for them to do that, or what does that mean for those people who have experienced that trauma, but yet they are these amazing, accomplished, resilient women. What does that mean for them?
Well, you know what, sis? It's important for us to share what we're going through because we want to help the younger generations. And so, the 18 contributing authors in the anthology Stand Up Resilient Black Women Who Are Shaping the World with Their Faith, they talked about their experiences of infidelity, betrayal, the loss of a child, abuse, molestation, being raped in the church and all of those things. But it was because they persevered and they had their faith and they had that personal relationship with God that they were able to go through and still become phenomenal ministers, teachers, prophets. You have executive directors that participated. You have community leaders and activists that participated. Everyone that participated in the anthology may have experienced some form of trauma in their life, but they are doing phenomenal things as a result of some of those experiences. And it's important for us to share our story because we never know who may be feeling like they're at their weakest point and they can't get through it. And just by reading someone else's story, they're like, oh my goodness, I can relate. That's my experience. If they can do it, I can do it. And that's the whole point of the storytelling, is to not only write to heal, but to encourage other people who are in the thick of it to be able to get through it.
Oh, I love how you said that because that is so true. I think sometimes, especially those women, obviously are all successful in their own rights and powerful women, right? And even as ourselves, you and I, to other people who may look at us and they see, oh, they're doing their thing, they're successful, or whatever the case may be, to know the story behind it changes a lot, right? Because for some people, they don't think that they can do it because they're like, I don't have this or I don't have that. And then to know, like, for people like us or successful people to say, like, actually, this is my story, it gives them some hope that, like, you have everything that you need already to be successful, and that there are people out there who, if they can do it, you can too. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's why it's super, super important because sometimes people are like, I don't want to talk about my story, or I don't know why people are alive, but I don't want to talk about my story. I don't want to feel like I'm bragging about anything, or I don't feel like people care, but they do care. You never know who you're inspiring. You never know who you are inspiring through your story and your resilience to say that, wow, like I've been sitting in my trauma and not working through it and just letting it run my entire life. But here's what I could do if I actually channel that, and how I could also do whatever it is that I want to do. And so I love that with the people that you use, these are people who probably people all the time would probably look at them and never know what they've been through. And that's
Ex-
important.
Exactly. And one thing, I was on the phone with, I can't remember who, I talked to so many people yesterday, but we realized, oh, I was on Clubhouse and we were talking in our book club room, and we realized our story isn't just for us. So whatever we experience in our journey to become full-time entrepreneurs or business coaches or teachers or scholars or whatever it is our occupation is, we had to go through that. And so telling that journey, sharing that journey with other people just keeps them inspired. And, you know, the adversity and the challenges that we face, if we got through it, it wasn't just for us. Like, I feel
Right.
we obligated to share. Now, I'm not saying go tell everybody your business, but if it can help someone, why not share a piece of your story, a piece of your journey that may encourage the next woman who's looking to resign from her six-figure job to follow her dream and her passion to be a salon owner, or to write that book, or to move and start a new family in another country. Like, why not encourage them to do that?
Exactly, exactly. So, have you ever, okay, so I'll tell you for me, have you ever felt like you did not want to share your story, but you feel like God told you you had to? Because I feel the same. Like, I'll be honest, I have went through that of like, don't nobody care about what I went through or what I'm going through. And so it has been a struggle for me to sort of put my story out there as well. So like, have you experienced that, or do you experience that, or the people that you help, how often do you hear that?
So it's like, yes, yes, yes to all your questions. Yes, many of the authors experience that. That's probably the number two reason why people don't write their personal story, because they don't believe it's important and they don't believe that people want to hear it. But on a daily basis, Fatima, God is telling me to be transparent, because, you know, in the streets of being a full-time entrepreneur, it is hard as
Oh,
all out. And every day I find myself in some form of fashion, like breaking down and crying, like, Lord, it's too hard. I can go get me a job and I could help blow somebody else's business up. Like, I can do that. It's just so hard. And so there was a time when I didn't want to share a piece of my story. And that was when I was unhealed. I was numb. I was unconscious. I was in the thick of my toxic relationship and I was being abused. And I remember I was at a rental office and a property manager looked at me and said, I see your pain. I see you're hurting. And if you ever want to talk, I'm here. And I felt like I was exposed. I'm like, how does she see it? How does she know? How does she recognize what I'm going through? She doesn't even know me. Like, what is going on? How am I leaking through the mask? But when she said that, it wasn't until 3 or 4 years later when I actually began to share my story just orally. And when I did, I could not shut up, because so many people connected with it. So many people were like, oh, me too. I've been abused and I had low self-esteem and I thought it was all over and single parenting was hard. So when I learned that other people had similar experiences, and God continued to pull me through, you know, the next step and take me through the next step, I'm like, I got to tell this to everybody, because I want them to be encouraged and get the same encouragement and support that I'm getting from other people. So yes, but it's so important that we share it, because we need to let the world and other people know, just in our community, you're not alone. You are not.
exactly. How do you feel, especially being a full-time entrepreneur? Because I understand, child. Some days you be like, oh, Lord, why? Like, why? And I'm sure all the other people that are entrepreneurs that are watching probably already feel that way, whether they're full-time or not. But it's definitely I tell people all the time, it is a different level of faith walk that you got to walk when you decide to, because when you're an entrepreneur, at the end of the day, you're a creator. You're
Yes.
already a creator. You're a creative. You're taking nothing and turning it into something. And sometimes people underestimate what comes with that. and just how spiritual that actually is. Because a lot of the times, honey, you are probably, I tried to run away from this for so many years, like, of just like, I don't like, why do I have to, you're going to ask, why me, Lord? Why me? Like, why do I have to do this? But no matter what capacity that you are as an entrepreneur, if you're an entrepreneur, you're a creator, you're creative, you're taking something from nothing and you're turning it into something. And long gone are the days where people don't care about the story behind the brands. People are much more sophisticated in terms of buyers that goes, and they connect a lot more to storytelling and you telling your story and them being able to connect with your brand. It doesn't matter if you have a product or if you do what you and I do. So how do you feel like you telling your story impacted you in your business as well?
It actually made me connect with my tribe because I realize that there's so many people that are hungry for fellowship and community and want to be amongst supportive women. And, most of my peers are older than I, probably by 5 to 10 years older than I am. And I would hear them say all the times, like, I don't have good, strong relationships with women. I don't connect with women. I don't do this with women. But what I noticed in telling my story and starting different empowerment organizations for women, like, we bonded through the storytelling. There was a number of people that raised their hand and said, I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I'm a single parent. I dropped out of college, when I was 19 years old. I had an abusive household. I mean, we connect through our storytelling. And so it's just been able, the impact has just been really allowed me to connect with my tribe, and I thrive with the tribe. Like, I really thrive with the tribe.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And connecting with your tribe in business is so important to attracting people to your brand. Like I said, it doesn't matter if you sell a product or you have a service. It doesn't matter what kind of business you have. When people can oftentimes hear the story behind it, that is how they can connect with you and in your business, and feeling like, oh wow, like I want to check out this brand. There are people who will buy or will pay for your services or pay for your products just because of they connected to your story, just because they said, wow, like I went through that too. I love the story behind it. And that is why when you're starting a business or you're running a business, and even with my clients from day one, and you've done this as an entrepreneur yourself, we work on their story and figuring out how can you merge that into your brand, like how can you merge that into your business, because that is like step one of the attraction model, literally, is incorporating your story and really putting it in there. And they don't have to write a book, much like what everybody don't feel like that's their calling to write a book, but you need to be able to tell it so that you can connect and attract those people. Like you said, you would find in your case, most people came up to you and was like, oh my God, I survived this, I survived that. And now there's a tribe, there's a sisterhood there. And it all is from the story. And so if you think about brands that you frequent or businesses or coaches or whoever you've invested in before, you probably will find that you connected to their story at some point. Their story, something about their story is what connected you to their business and to their brand. And so I say that to say is that, do you feel like people are, because I'm sure you hear this objection all the time, like, I don't need to tell my story. Do you feel like that people, by not telling your story, that people are really leaving a lot on the table, and not just money, but building a tribe in their businesses as well? Because the stats say that facts tell, but stories sell. And only 10% of businesses are actually utilizing the power of storytelling. So that's enough. What do you think about that stat? Do you believe that stat, or does a brand or a company telling their story impact your decision to purchase with them?
So I do believe that people connect with the storytelling. Absolutely. I know in the beginning it was hard for me to connect entrepreneurship and business and branding and what I do as a personal development coach with my story. But I realized through my own coaches that story is what connects me to my tribe and my clients. And so for the people that are like, oh, well, I'm private, because I'm private, so to speak. I am typically an introvert. Most people are like, what, you're an introvert? I'm like, I am.
Yes.
So now they say I'm an intro extrovert because I do what I need to do, especially when God assigns me to do something. But the part of the story, and I think sometimes people get confused because they're trying to figure out one story, but we have multiple stories. And
Yeah.
so depending on where you are, depending on the audience, you'll tell a bit of your story. I call it the journey.
Mm-hmm.
About the journey, but you share a little bit of your journey because that's what makes you connect. And people are always looking for connectivity. So a lot of times we're like, oh, we're different, we're different, we're different. If you think about it, we're honestly seeking people who are familiar and who are similar. So when we're sharing our story as a business owner, as a brand, people are connecting with those who struggle to get their initial clients, those who struggle to make the first six figures, those who struggle to find their divine mate or their soulmate or that happy marriage, those who struggled as a single parent and then they became a scholar, whatever the case may be. We're always looking for the connecting factor. So you only discover that by hearing people's stories or the journeys that they've experienced. And I'm not saying run up to people and just start opening your mouth. I mean, make it make sense. Like my daughter would say, Mom, make it make sense.
It's truly the foundation of any business. Like and I think it is so underrated. It is so slept on. And I really feel like people do not realize how important it is. But not only just in business, but in life in general. Because again, you just never know who needs to hear what you're going through, who can be inspired by what you have went through. And you never know how many, like I get messages, I'm sure you get messages all the time. They're like, wow, because you shared that and you were so transparent, I decided to do XYZ. And so that's why I loved in the beginning that you said, like, sometimes we think our story is about us, but it's really a story for someone else. And sometimes we don't realize a lot of the things that we went through while we thought it was painful for us or it sucked for us or it was the worst thing that ever happened to us. It was meant to help someone else along the way. And get, again, give them something to think about or to say like, wow, inspire them to do different, and your story becomes a part of now their story. Because I can think of people where I was like, because she did this or she told this story, I decided to do XYZ. And so I just think that it is super super important, and so that's why I love what you do in helping women tell their story and tell their stories of resilience, because there is this stigma of people just being like, I don't want to do that, or this I'm moving in silence. I don't want to. Oh, that's a big one about the whole moving in silence thing. Because I'll tell you this, as someone who is quote unquote successful, both of us are, right? And but a lot of times some people will try to, I guess, downplay what you've achieved or your successes and say, like, because I feel like we wear it well sometimes. Like, we have worn our struggle so well. We've made the struggle look beautiful, right? And I tell people all the time, that I feel like I made struggle look so beautiful and easy, even though it wasn't. That a lot of times people will try to downplay your success or what you have achieved and saying like you don't know what it feels like or you've never struggled. Have you ever experienced that?
We were just talking about this last night on Clubhouse in my book club. And the question was, do people think you do people really know about your journey? Do they really, when they meet you, are they surprised at where you are now versus where you've been? And I'm like, they are totally surprised. Most of the people don't know that I used to be homeless. Most of the people don't know that I had lost so much weight because of stress. My hair fell out because of stress. So most people, they look at me now and be like, oh, you've always been that way. No, I'm not always that way. And even on any given day and any given week, I'm still going through some level of pressure or some level of, the Lord said, do this, and I'm trying to achieve it. And my resources is not matching what he asked me to do. And so I'm like, how do I make this happen? You know what I'm saying? So people, that's why I say people get it twisted when they look at these pictures that we post on Instagram and they look at our vacations and people are like, I'm living our best life. That's why it's so important to have these healing conversations, because behind the picture, behind the video, behind the vacation is some real struggle.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that we don't have relationships. It's not that we don't have faith. We're human beings and we're having a life experience. And that's why we need to share the journey. You know what I'm saying? I get some people move in silence because I'm not one to really,
Yeah.
move in silence. I'm not one to really be talking about every step I make. But the Lord has asked me to start being more transparent. And because He said I need to be more transparent, I am an open book.
Exactly. Oh, girl. I feel you, because I feel like I resisted being told to be more transparent. I feel like I fought it, and I feel like I definitely got a whooping from spirit with that, because I tried my best. And it's, again, it's not like you want to like move, like you're hiding anything. It's just that you just feel like, why should I've definitely questioned, like, why do I have to do this? Why do I have to be obedient and do this? Why do I need to be telling all of this? Why do I need to share this? No one cares. It's not relevant. Or I'm just uncomfortable with it. I'm just uncomfortable with being transparent. And that was one of the things that I resented about the assignment that I have on my life as well. And I'm sure, and in our talks that we've had as well in our mastermind, I know you can relate, but where I have definitely been like, I just don't want to do this. Like, I would just rather quit and just do this, but I can't be disobedient because I'm going to feel it if I'm disobedient. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it doesn't. Obedience is key. So it's for some people that we are there. Do you believe, and this is kind of what I believe, and that's what I want to ask you. Do you believe that for some people there is no moving in silence or living in silence and being in silence because of their specific assignment? So for some people, or do you feel like everybody has an assignment to be transparent and put their story out there? Or do you feel like there are just certain people that is their calling?
I think, we all have a calling and we all have an assignment, and I don't necessarily believe that the Lord want everybody to be transparent, and there may be a season of transparency and it might be very private. It might not happen on social media. There's a lot of things I do, for others that I never speak about because I'm not led to speak about it. Just because I helped somebody or blessed somebody or did this for a family or did all these things, I'm not led to share that. And I noticed in my coaching business, just last week, I was interviewed by a local TV station, and she was like, well, do you have a lot of video footage or photos of you working with your clients? And I'm like, I really don't, because that's not something that I take pictures of. Like, that's intimate work that I do with my clientele. And so I'm not there scheduling a photographer saying, hey, get this candidate shot. I don't think to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So but what the Lord has said for me, He said, in the season that I have you in, I need you to be transparent what's happening with you emotionally, spiritually, physically, because there are other people that need to see the transformation of going from a director to a full-time employer to an entrepreneur to an author, until now you're getting ready to do this national movement. I want them to see the journey. And I'm like, hey, Lord, I feel so uncomfortable, but if you said it, I'll do it.
I'm gonna do it, but it's uncomfortable. Who is it uncomfortable? Okay, I like that. That it's a season of transparency for some people. Because much like you, a lot of times I definitely don't feel the need to share things that I do for people on social media. That's just not my style. Like, obviously in our business we have to share social proof. We have to show that we help people. We have to show that what we do, we can get people results. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's an element of that of people. But what I have found and what I resented about what we do now, and I'm sure a lot of business owners feel this way too, because a lot of people come to me and they're like, it just doesn't make sense. But people actually want to see that in this era and in this world, like the behind the scenes and like what is your journey. But I'm like you, if I don't feel led to share it, I don't share it. But if I feel it and it's telling me like you have to share this, then I share. Because there is still, as we're talking about telling stories, right? There's still an element of privacy that I like to have about my life and who I am that I don't always put out there. I don't always put every single win, and I don't always share every single low. I share what I feel led to share. And so for a lot of people that I talk to, and maybe for your clients as well, there's this limiting belief that like if you share certain things that are going on in your life, that you are leaving yourself open for attack and in your life and in your business. And for me, I feel like I'm divinely protected. And
That's it.
God told me to do it. I don't worry about it. Like, if you really have the faith that you say that you do, why do you worry so much about a hater or what somebody said? Can't nobody stop what God put on you to do, or can't nobody stop what is already written for you. That's how I feel. So again, yeah, there are certain wins that I share, there are certain lows that I share, but I don't share everything. So there's still a level of privacy because I just don't feel like every single detail of my life needs to be put out there. But I do feel like a lot of people don't do it because they have that fear. Do you experience that with your clients?
With my clients, yes. And I try to work with them on getting through that negative belief because it immobilizes them, it keeps them stuck, it stops them from launching, it delays them getting started. And so we work through that because doubt and fear cannot coexist. And
Yeah.
if called you to do something like your divine assignment, it doesn't matter if you submit this proposal and it gets rejected. Like, people aren't going to steal your idea because the idea and vision that God gave you is for you. No one can implement it the way that he gave you. And so I usually look at, if somebody, and again, it's all about how I interpret things. And so I don't even have haters. I mean, I'm sure they exist, but you'll never hear me saying, "Oh, that's a hater." Like, I don't experience haters. I don't have time to be trying to figure out who's trying to stop me. Like, I'm not focused on that. I'm focused on the assignment. And
Hmm.
I know that when God says to do this, that he's going to bring me the provisions and the resources and open up the doors and remove the ceilings so that I can make it happen as his vessel and administrator on earth. So that's what I focus on. But I do see a lot of people get stuck in that arena. And sometimes it's hard for me to support them because I really haven't experienced that. And so I just can, as their coach, I will work with them in asking them the appropriate questions to help them see that that's not the reality. That is just their perception.
Exactly. Oh, I'm so glad you said that because I thought it was just my clients, to be honest, or even myself. Like, people don't realize when you said delaying the launching process, people don't realize that launching is for all businesses out there. Depending on the industry and how long you need to launch varies, but minimum launching is 30 days. 30 days of putting out there what you have to getting people amped up, revved up, and excited. And over time, you can eventually, like I tell my clients, eventually you can be on Beyonce level where you could just drop something and everybody gonna flock to it no matter what, even if you drop it at 5 or 3 in the morning, right? But I do feel like it does impact a lot of people in their businesses because from what I see, they will say, they will make an announcement and say they launched their business, and then nobody supports or nobody buys, or maybe their grandmother buys or somebody, right? But then they'll say people don't want to support me and this and this and that. And it's like, you did not nurture your audience first. You did not bring them along on that journey. You did not get them excited before you decided to make your announcement because you were so fearful that you needed to keep
Yes.
it a secret until it was done. But that kind of defeats exactly what. And so most of the people that I help, they feel like their business is like it's it for them. That's what they are meant to be doing and so forth. But again, they delay so much of their process out of this fear. And I was in that place before as well, where I have experienced a lot of, and we all do, but I'm so in a different place in my life now where I'm like, oh, what? I don't acknowledge what's a hater. Like you said, what's a hater? Like, Yeah, they talk, but oh well. Like, yeah, they say, oh, why do y'all have to tell? People gonna say something about you telling your story. Someone tried to talk. But yeah, people out there who say things about people who tell their stories. It just is what it is. They do. They why is she sharing that? But it's not for you. It's for someone else attached to my assignment. And so people have to get into a place. It's great that you support them through that, of where you help them realize that you cannot worry about that. And I always tell people, I said, you know why I don't address it or worry about it or even acknowledge it? Because the way I see it is, the people who also own their shit, I never see them worried about me, because they so much on their stuff. They not worried about me or what I got going on or my story. They in fact are celebrating me as well. Only the people who are not healed yet, who are still in a certain place, who are miserable, who operating from a certain space, are worried about what somebody else doing to that degree. And so that's what I try to tell my clients, that you need to focus on the ones who are supportive, the ones who are cheering you on, the ones who are, um, happy for you, as opposed to worrying about those people, the wrong thing. But that's just what I have found, that a lot of people spend so much time focusing on that. I'm like you, I don't notice it. I'm sure it's there. I don't care to address it, but I know it's there for sure.
Yeah, and I think some of that stems from just trust issues in general. You know what I'm saying? So some people have had experiences that caused them to mistrust or not trust people, and so that's wrapped into some of their core beliefs. And so we have to support our clients in doing that as well. And you know what I'm learning, Fatima? As coaches, no matter what your business or industry is, whether it's beauty, whether it's personal development, whether it's fashion, whether it's writing, we still show up with all of our baggage, all of our thinking, all of those thoughts, things that happen in childhood, stuff we haven't addressed, bad relationships, and we bring all of that as an entrepreneur to our business. And so that sometimes that impairs us for being our greatest self in our business as an owner operator, because we have trust issues. We think people want to steal our ideas. We think people don't want to support us because they haven't supported us on other things, and we have to work through all of that. All
Yes.
of that has to be worked through.
Yes. It's crazy that you said that. That is absolutely true. I always tell people, like, when you decide to start a business, again, like I said earlier, it's spiritual. It's a healing journey in itself, because if you don't heal what's going on in here, it absolutely reflects in your business. It reflects in how you do business and how you run business, because now you are taking those things, and now you're not launching your business at all, or in the way that you should, because of what you, like you said, your past experiences and the things that you've gone through, and all of the baggage and all of the things that we have, in those internal things, absolutely impact the way that we do business. And so we have to address those things in order to become better entrepreneurs. And that is why I tell my clients all the time, your business only grows at the level your mind does.
Yes.
Because if you are in here still in a certain space, it absolutely reflects on what you have going on in your business and in your life, actually, both at the same time. So that's a really good point that you brought up, because if you have trouble setting boundaries, or you're a people pleaser, or you're all of these different things, that is how you're going to run your business. And you cannot run your business that way. If you are someone who, again, is always worried about who's not supporting you and all of these different things, or having trust issues with this and this and that, as you know, especially on our journeys of entrepreneurship, you cannot do this thing alone. So you're going to have to trust somebody. Like, I don't know what I would do without our community of ladies, who we all fellowship with as well, and help each other in resources, and share our experiences, and vent, and all of these different things, because you cannot do this alone. And I've had trust issues as well with other people when I started my business, for sure, and I saw how it impacted me, versus now, of being more open to that, and being more open to saying, you know what, I need to, you know, trust more, or my soul tribe, as I started to heal these different things. But I think that people don't realize just how much that impacts the way you do business and how you bring your emotions into it, because now you're not making the moves you should be making because of that.
That is so, so, so true. It impacts you as a business owner. It impacts you as a customer, like when you're purchasing products or services or when you're trying to collaborate with others. And so that's something we really have to do. There's no way around doing the inner work. Like you cannot avoid that. And even as you heal, like there's levels to this healing process. There's levels, you
Yeah.
know, even as I think about, you know, the anthology I just did with the authors, and some of them are like, okay, so I want you to help me write my independent book. And I've been assessing and evaluating myself, and I'm like, why am I slacking with launching this program for them to write their independent book? And a part of me was like, well, you know what? It's a price shift. You know, when you do an anthology versus an independent book, you know, there's a big gap in price because now you're getting that one-on-one coaching and programming. And so I've just been reluctant. And I'm like, I need to work through that because I'm
It's,
in business to make money, and I
it's,
can't let my emotions get me caught up. And you know, even though I am a personal development coach, I'm constantly self-coaching myself, and I also have a coach. I have a coach. Like it's important because we may reach a level of success, but then there's other levels and we're constantly evolving. And so there's always that growth. There's always that growth. We don't stop until we expire. That's when we stop growing and learning.
exactly. And that which doesn't grow dies, literally. You know what? You said a word there, because I just talked about on Tuesday of people not even pricing their products the way that they need to. And it's usually when I ask someone, and I just was on my call with my clients last night, and one of them was like, I don't want to charge that for this. And I said, let's address it. And I went through the 4 reasons why. And literally, pricing your business and running your business, it is always an internal thing. It is always internal of this fear. And women mostly go through this way more than men do in terms of like pricing and asking for what they're worth. Like men don't think twice about it, but women do. But like you said, I had to address that with her. Let's talk about where this is coming from, because you're struggling to charge this rate, not just because you just don't feel like you want to charge it. Let's talk about why you are not charging what you need to charge. And that's stuff that we have to deal with. We've all dealt with it. I dealt with it as well, with charging the prices that I charge. But like I told her as well, if you don't want to make money, don't go in business. Start a nonprofit, and even
Exactly.
that, right? But you don't go in business. Like you can't go into business with that thought process. And so even what you said about the levels to this, they always say don't trust a coach without a coach. Because who is holding you accountable as you're holding me accountable, right? There has to be some accountability there. But it seems like as you heal and as you grow, you heal one thing, and then you're like, okay, I'm good, and you unlock some more stuff that you now like. And so it's this never ending journey of healing things that you have experienced. And as you are an entrepreneur, some more stuff comes up every single time, especially in certain seasons in your business, as you are trying to grow and elevate, and as you're trying to take it up a notch and take it to the next level. In my case, I definitely struggled with like hiring people, all of those things. I was like, I don't feel like I'm supposed to do this, like, but I was being obedient, or just different things like that. There's different levels. Every time I look up, it's something else new I gotta work through and heal, another trigger that I gotta work through. And I'm like, dang, can I just like chill for a little bit before I gotta start addressing some more stuff within me? And so that is why it is so important that we share that, and share that, even if it's through just social media, even if it's not a book, even if it is a book, because people need to understand the internal. Because what I have found is people are jumping into these businesses and are totally underestimating just how much of that kind of work you're going to be doing. And then they want the quick money, and that is why they quit. or that is why they stop, or that is what, because they just think, I'm gonna just make some money. That's all there is to it. Did you feel like you experienced that? Like, do you feel like you totally underestimated what really goes into it? Because I think people need to be more transparent about our journeys as entrepreneurs.
Girl, listen. Yes, I underestimated it. I mean, big time. And my bachelor's is in business administration. I'm a great organizer. I'm a licensed master social worker. I understand psychology, but did I underestimate what it takes? The fortitude, the perseverance, the willingness to create and put out what God asked me to put out. And I have people questioning, well, why are you doing it like that? Well, why not this? Well, when you use those words, that language, this is what people are accustomed to. And I'm like, well, God told me to use this word, this title, do it this way. And I can't veer from that. And I know it sounds crazy. I know it may look bizarre, but that's the thing, because God is the CEO of my business, sometimes I'm like, Lord, you are asking me to do things that traditionally people have this perception of it. And you want me to educate them, create something new, and give them a new perspective, introduce it, and then sell it, a service. I'm like, that's a whole lot you asking of this little girl from the projects. Like, come on, Lord.
Hey.
It just requires so much. Like you said, being an entrepreneur is being a creator, being an innovator. And that is hard. And when I think of hard, I have an acronym for it: handling all responsibilities diligently.
Oh, yes.
All responsibilities diligently. That takes a lot. And being an entrepreneur is not for the faint at heart, because sometimes I'm like, I could go get me a job and still live my best life.
Yes.
Take my favorite vacations, buy what I want, do what I want, and be okay. But I'm like, that is not what I'm supposed to do. And I'm not knocking anybody that just has a job. I
Right.
just know that season of being an employer is over. Being an employee is over for me.
Right. Right. Yes. Oh, I definitely have had them moments like, man, I just go ahead and get a job and call it a day. But then you know what's crazy? You'll say that, or you'll have one of those days. And I think we talked about this in our group the other day. And then somebody will message you and say, oh my God, I need your help. Or, oh my God, I just love. And then you're like, okay, I see why I got to do this. Like, you just never know, but someone will see you'll get a message, or someone will say something, or someone will, you're reminded at that time, and that is what really keeps you going. But I said this the other day, like, when they say heavy is the head, oh, do they mean that? That it is a lot of responsibility. And I said this the other day on my stories, but I see why everyone does not make it. I see why more businesses, people always say that it's a profit thing of why all businesses don't, why there are so many businesses that fail. A large percent, like 80 to 90% of businesses fail within the X amount of years. I actually feel like it has absolutely nothing to do completely with profit, and everything to do with the mindset that it takes to put yourself in a position to build enough profit in your business to sustain. And everybody ain't willing to do that. And that ain't everybody calling. Some people are meant to work for jobs, and it is nothing wrong with that. Some people are meant to do that for forever. And I really can see why everybody don't make it. As I'm on this journey, I can see why everybody does not make it.
Yeah, because you have to be flexible, you have to pivot, you have to be open to change. Like, you can't be convinced that this is the only way. I mean, the whole becoming, like that whole journey of becoming is incredible. And you have to stay the course. And even when you don't want to do it, you can't let your emotions stop you. Like, I don't want to work with this person because they use that word or said that thing. Like, you have to let all of that stuff, ego aside. You have to, you just have to be about wanting to really do this no matter what it takes. Like, not being, you're going to stay uncomfortable. You're going to
Soon as you
don't
get
work 80 hours or more a week if you really, really, really trying to succeed. Like, you just gonna live outside your comfort zone. You have to be comfortable living outside your comfort. to make it and be profitable and successful and have the level of impact that you want.
Right. And I feel like, just to piggyback off of that, I feel like that is the building phase. And I feel like if you do it right and you stay obedient, it's not going to be like that for forever. There's always going to be those, obviously, it's going to still always be tough. It's going to always be, but if you do this kind of work now and you stay obedient, and that is what keeps me going, is knowing that it will not always be this tough. It will not always, I'm doing this now so that I can chill eventually. It's doing this now so that I'm doing this work now so that I can eventually get the freedom and see the vision that I know that was given to me. But a lot of people can't get past that phase, that first few years where you are truly, this is where it is the toughest, it is the most difficult, it is the building aspect of it. And then eventually get into that space where, again, they are, you know, far and they're doing their thing and all of that. So I definitely can understand that. I can understand why everybody doesn't make it past those few years, because that is that phase of where what we're going through now, and many other entrepreneurs. And so some people, if your mindset isn't right, they never get out of that phase. They never get out of that phase, and either they quit or they forever resent their businesses that they built, even if they stay in business for forever. Or again, there are people who get past that and they eventually reap the reward. So I do feel like eventually we will start to see a return on not just the financial investment, but the return on the investment of our time, energy, money, tears, literally blood, sweat, and tears, literally fear, pushing through our fears, pushing through all of these things, addressing those things. I do eventually feel like, yes, we'll always still be growing and developing, but I don't feel like it's going to always be this way. That's just how I feel.
It is not going to always be this way because I'm not going to allow it. You know,
Exactly. Whatever I got to do.
I'm going to allow it. And I understand that these are the growing pains. And I realize I have to go through this phase because, again, for me, I know it's a test. Like, how bad do I really want to walk in my purpose and really want to connect with those 79,000 women that I believe I'm supposed to connect with? How bad do I want it? And sometimes I'll ask myself, like, if I had all of the resources, all of the money, everything that I wanted right now, would I be able to really manage it? No, because I haven't had the experience and I don't have the knowledge. And so this phase is preparing me for more and greater, and it's necessary. And even though I be kicking and screaming like, Lord, I done been through grad school. I don't like this grad school of hard knocks with entrepreneurship, but it's necessary. And again, I'll be able to share this journey, this trial with someone else who are like, oh, I'm about to give up. I'm about to go get a job. It's easier. I don't have to work this hard. And I can let them know, sis or bro, you know what? Stay the course because it will pay off.
Right, right. And letting them know and telling our stories while we're in the storm too, is important. But when we come out on the other side, we definitely will have stories to tell, for sure. And then I'll eventually be hitting you up like, okay, Arne, I'm ready for you to help me write my book. Because about 10 people tell me over the years, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. And I'd be like, no, that ain't it yet. That's not, I don't see it yet. I see it eventually, but I don't see it yet. And maybe that's some internal things that I had to work through of like why I don't feel like I should be writing a book yet. But I've definitely heard that a time or two. So then I'll be hitting you up when we get out on the other side. Like, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready to write it. Well, I enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for talking to people. Like, I think it's so important to do these things because, again, our transparency in itself on today is probably empowering, or not probably, is empowering someone else to keep going on their journeys, and to stay the course, whether it is in life or in business, of understanding just how powerful it is to do what you feel led and when you feel led, and to tell it and to not be afraid, because it absolutely impacts your business, your bottom line, and your life by not sharing your story. It is that powerful. So we talked about how it helps you connect to your audience, but also how it is a part of our healing so that we heal, so that we run businesses that are successful as well. So I'm going to stop here and you can let them know exactly where they can find you on Clubhouse and everything you got going on and where they can reach you as well. Because I have a lot of people that watch the replay.
All right. So I want to say thank you so much for making this time for us to have this very important conversation. You know, I love being transparent about the process and the journey of entrepreneurship and survivorship and faith and all of those good things. And I know you are a mover and shaker. We were just together in, was it February? Was it? Yeah. It was
Yeah.
just we're in person for the first time in the AL. So I just love your whole spirit.
Oh,
For those that want to connect with me, you can connect with me on Clubhouse. I host 2 rooms. One of the rooms is Resilient Black Women, and we do a weekly conversation, a healing conversation around the chapters of Stand Up. And then I also host a room, Divine Invitations, or I should say I have a club called Divine Invitations. And right now I'm in there every day talking about how to become a best-selling co-author. And for those of you who are looking to get a copy of the book, Stand Up, you can purchase it directly from my website, and it's ardenaegarner.com. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'm on it, not active. So if you definitely hit me up on Instagram or Facebook, or connect with me through Fatima. I'd love to connect with you.
I I love it. That this is why community is so important, because it can get lonely as you're on this journey. So it's so important to have other people who can understand and that are in that same boat and storm with you. So I am so appreciative of you and thanking you for taking your time out today to talk to people. So of course, y'all know where to find me. Y'all need to click the link in my bio if you want to get on my calendar, schedule a discovery call if you have a beauty brand that is stagnant, and that's where I help you get unstuck, build out your marketing machine, and transform your brand completely into a premium brand and get paid the rates that you should be getting paid for your beauty brand. So if that sounds like you and you are also struggling with figuring out how do I connect my story in my beauty brand, where does it fit, does it even matter, how can I use it to help me, then you need to click that link in the bio. I also have a new free mini series training that you can check out that is going to walk you through how to do this, my whole process, and how you can use your story to stand out among other beauty brands. So click that link and y'all have a good one. Bye.